Well, we now have joining us in the studio Arise News Director of News and Politics Editor Sumner Sambo. He joins us to look at preparations for the governorship elections across the country. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you so much.
I'm always excited to see you because you're about to unpack a lot of things.
Yeah.
But let's start with Lagos. And that's because we had a story about the legitimacy of the candidacy. On the other hand, we have opposition political leaders endorsing Sanwo-Olu for the election. So, one, what is the political, capital of these endorsements? Do they even mean anything? And it does look like, you know, the heat is on in Lagos State. Tell us what's more to look out for there. And of course, with Rhodes Vival, what does this portend for him?
Thank you so much, Adeswa. Let me start from Rhodes Vival. It's a very good situation that, you know, clarity is coming here now, because a lot of people were confused initially as to what exactly it's causing all the, you know, internal problems within the Labour Party in Lagos State. But I mean, it's been very clear over time. I mean, since last year, we had known that he was actually the, you know, confirmed candidate of the Labour Party in Lagos State. And of course, you know, the opposition will always want to use a little things here and there to cause problems for him, including members of his own party, and then including the governing APC too. Just the way he's giving them sleepless nights. I mean, they will always want to put, you know, things, landmines along his way. So, I mean, it's very good. We've seen him bringing lots of enthusiasm to the elections ahead, and then we've seen the campaigns going on very well. But it's just that the toxicity of the campaign, you know, using ethnic slurs and then religious slurs is what is not good. I mean, all the political parties in Lagos and other states should be very careful not to set a very dangerous precedent. We try to avoid that during the presidential election. We must do all our best to, you know, ensure that the elections, especially in the commercial capital of Lagos, doesn't turn out, you know, in flames. If you had listened to the Inspector General of Police and then, of course, the National Security Advisor today at the ISIS meeting by INEC.
INEC chairman as well.
INEC chairman, they have said it. Look, the NSA retired General Monguno had said it very clearly. When it comes to governorship elections, the emotions are much more higher. For presidential election, yes, you may not necessarily, you know, Abuja is a little bit distant. You know, for National Assembly elections, it's a little bit distant. But when it comes to governorship elections and state houses of assembly elections, it's much more closer to the people. Lots of emotions are whipped up by politicians and all of that. So we must be very clear here to avoid that. For the endorsement, Sanwo-Olu is scoring a very, very good goal here. I mean, having the former PDP governorship candidate, you know, endorsing him. I mean, it's a very, very good one. They made some things very clear there. Some mistakes have been made. But I can tell you that the entrance of Labour Party into the governorship elections has made us to understand that we didn't used to have opposition in Lagos State before. It looks like the opposition in Lagos State used to be under the, you know, the purview of the governing party over time. And so when an Agbaje shows up, they just dismiss him. You know, when you have others showing up, they just dismiss them here and there. But here is good opposition from the Labour Party, which is making Sanwo-Olu to, you know, tour different places. I mean, and that tells you that the contest is real in Lagos. And the contest should continue to be like this, so that the governing parties, or even if it's Labour Party that wins the election and gets there, will know that governing Lagos is a different kettle of fish. But with this one, I can tell you that the Labour Party has a lot of work to do, because with all these big guys coming to endorse Sanwo-Olu, there's a tendency that the Labour Party may not have all the capacity to outwit the APC. Because what's the major factor that's making the PDP to come in? The PDP leaders are beginning to see that there's going to be a Bola Tinubu in Abuja who will call the shots, who will have a lot of favors to give. And so they are trying to align. Look, the APC already has something in its kitty. So the politicians who are from the old order are beginning to look and have a rethink. If we don't go with the APC, how would we play the politics with Bola Tinubu as president in Abuja? So in trying to prevent a loss for them in Abuja, they are trying to come together and see how they can push Sanwo-Olu. it's left for Sanwo-Olu to be able to take advantage of this because is the Labour Party a very formidable opposition? Yes, they are. PDP and Jandor, they are somewhere there. So it's left to be seen if Jandor may, build an alliance with Sanwo-Olu, having seen what is going on. But I can tell you that from what I've seen and from what I've heard, there's a tendency that somebody like Fashola may be used to tempt somebody like Jandor, having worked for him, to see how he can build an alliance with people like Dosomu that are entering in to support Sanwo-Olu.
Or maybe two opposition parties might decide to come together.
Well, it looks like it's a little bit difficult for Rottweiler to, sway and galvanize Jandor. Jandor is looking at it as if, there's actually this issue of betrayal when Bode George had wanted, Rottweiler to be the deputy governorship candidate of Jandor, but he refused. Well, now, how will it seem if you were the one politically to now collapse your own political structure for someone who should have been your deputy?
At the end of the day,
so that ego is
what
there.
Should matter
I doubt
is
if it will happen.
Whatever alliance that gets you that win should be what be in the top of the minds of all politicians. But let's leave Lagos for a hot second now and go to another state, still in the southwest. And since we're talking about endorsement and all of that, just over the weekend, Rashid Ladoja, the former governor of Oyo State, did endorse the APC governorship candidate there, talking about Teslim Folarin. And of course, we do know that one G5 governor is seeking a second term. So talk to us about, the politics in Oyo and, what you think will play out. So
the politics in Oyo is that, it's only one governor that has kept that has scaled through to be, a re-elected governor in that state, which is the late governor Ajimobi, the late Ajimobi.
He broke the jinx.
Yeah, he broke the jinx. And so, but the internal dynamics of the politics of Oyo State now is such that it's very complicated for the APC. The APC is looking to pay back. I mean, the Bola Tinubu wing of the APC and the Southwest wing of the APC, they are trying to see how they could actually repay Governor Seyi Makinde for the favor he did to them by ensuring that the APC won the presidential election there. Now, if things didn't go that way, it could have been a soft landing for Teslim Folarin. But with that, reception that, Governor Seyi Makinde gave to Tinubu when he came, and then with the votes that came out from there, I can tell you that talks will be ongoing, not to pressure, the APC in Oyo State to be able to, kick against Governor Seyi Makinde very well. But it's a tough call because if you look at Folarin himself, he has been trying to build alliances here and there and to ensure that, he is able to present himself as someone who has capacity to win. As a former, Senate leader and all of that, he has the capacity to be able to cause troubles. But because of those issues that we have seen, with Tinubu being delivered by Oyo State, and then look at senators, and then the problems that we have in the PDP is what Teslim Folarin will be capitalizing on. The article problems that we had here and there. But
the division in the PDP.
The divisions, having people like the Akinjide daughters here and there, saying that they were for article, and then the governor still insisting that he's with Wike. But I can tell you that ethnicity will play a very strong factor, and that ethnicity seems to be somehow favoring Governor Seyi Makinde, not because of performance and capacity, but because Tinubu is, under the circumstances, being forced to want to lower his guard with his team. And if there's a way he can beg Teslim Folarin maybe to promise him a juicy appointment in Abuja, not to betray Makinde, something like that may likely work out.
Would Makinde be the last man standing from the G5? We'll keep our fingers crossed.
The temptations are there. I mean.
But let's move on very quickly. And you talk about endorsement and collapsing of structure. Why that may not work in Lagos, you've explained to us. We've seen it happening in other states, including in Enugu. The Labour Party collapses structure for the PDP.
Of the Labour Party.
It's just a faction of the Labour Party, a group called the Obedient Movement and all of that. And the actual candidate of the Labour Party has been endorsed, and we've seen his hand being raised by Peter Obi. So formally, yes, the party structure and the presidential candidate are with the governorship candidate. But you know, in terms of politics, I mean, the dynamics in the states are different from that of, you know, national elections.
Indeed.
This one is going to be about who's closer to you.
But when you see, yes, so I mean, it's fascinating that even the Labour Party is dealing with factions already. But when you see such happening, whether it's factional or it's wholeheartedly, what does this say to you? Would you say opposition parties are learning from the presidential election that they are stronger together against a governing party in a state? But on the other hand, does it then prove critics right that a party such as the Labour Party is the creation of the PDP?
Yes, I mean, we've seen even the presidential candidate of the PDP, of the Labour Party, trying to endorse some PDP candidates. There's always been that talk. In fact, the APC kept accusing the Labour Party of being an offshoot of the PDP and that, you know, is just an appendage of the PDP. Well, that has continued in one way or the other. There's this sort of romance between the PDP and the Labour Party, which we are seeing, including you saw the two vice presidential candidates of the PDP and Labour Party holding a press conference together. And it's beginning to make even some people that came out to vote for the Labour Party on election day to reassess themselves and their votes. And then when you take a look at some of the things you have mentioned earlier, it is clear to the politicians now that unless there are alliances that are built, it could be pretty difficult for some of them to be able to maintain their strongholds. And so that's why you see that there seems to be some formation of alliances in the states, some groups coming together, some parties coming together to endorse, because it looks like one party may not be able to win some states. Look at, for example, Nasarawa. You see the Labour Party collapsing its structure totally into PDP. So I think there's more a closer relationship between PDP and Labour Party. And it looks like there's an understanding that may have been reached between the leaders of the Labour Party and the PDP, even at the highest hierarchy of the party and presidential candidates that may not have been said in the open. And that's why you see even Peter Obi saying that in states where the Labour Party doesn't have candidates, they will try to see how they will provide support. And the first beneficiary of that support is actually going to be the PDP. So this should be a careful alliance, because if they are not careful, the PDP is the mastermind of all of these alliances. The PDP may end up swallowing Labour Party at the end of these elections if they do not, you know how to arrange themselves very well. And it could also be an advantage for Obi to be able to build his 2027 network.
Right.
If he knows how to play it very well. But PDP being the masters and being an older political party and a former governing party, I think will not kowtow to the Labour Party. So Peter Obi has to reorganize himself and not look like he's pushing a lot of people who believed in him and the Labour Party away.
Back to what they were walking away from.
Yes, and then some people will start asking, what's the difference between Labour Party and PDP?
Right.
So we're just fighting a cause that wasn't different from what we thought, it was. So if that's the case, they should be very, very careful in the sort of alliance. The alliance should be written if they're entering into it, rather than making it just open-ended.
Well, Sumner, Sambo, a good place for us to drop the anchor. Let's not forget that in Enugu State, that East senatorial elections is also coming up, of course, alongside.
Yes, not only Enugu, even in Sokoto, all the three senatorial districts, I mean, there were no elections there. And then in Plateau, we have, for example, a lot of obedience, who said that they were going for Labour Party. When it's coming to the rural elections now, you are seeing them saying they are going for PDP or they are going for APC.
Well, it's about, they
so
would
the
argue
dynamics
and say it's about the candidates and not the party.
Yeah, so the local dynamics of the elections will play out. And some of the things that happened during the presidential elections will not happen during
Arise News Director of
elections.
News as well as Politics Editor Sumner Sambo. As always, thank you for your in-depth analysis.